We all love vinyl records, but they are not perfect. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you my top annoyances when it comes to the vinyl hobby. Welcome back to the channel. Now, in a previous video, I talked about all of the small joys that I get when it comes to vinyl record collecting. And so I figured it was only right to talk about the small and, well, sometimes big annoyances when it comes to vinyl record collecting. So I'm just gonna jump right into it with number one. All right, so number one on my list is storing vinyl records and everything that comes with it. I'm a big physical media collector in general, so I like to also collect CDs and collect movies, and these things are just so much easier to display and store than vinyl records. For example, I have a CD collection that has probably a few hundred CDs, and they can easily fit inside several CD wallet binders. You can pick them up easily, transfer them from room to room or location to location. My entire CD collection can store very easily inside a couple of the cubbies of a IKEA Kallax shelf. And overall, I don't feel that they are a burden to have in the home at all. And then of course I have my movie collection, which is really a collection of DVDs and Blu-rays and 4K discs. And once again, I have hundreds of movies and TV shows as well. But because the movie cases are so small and so thin, you can fit a lot of them on a very long shelf. I can have hundreds and hundreds of movies and TV shows stored side by side on a shelf in a library, and again, it's not a burden at all. But then that's when we start moving over to the vinyl record collection and things start getting a little bit more challenging. Now, I like to store my records inside of an IKEA Kallax shelf. The shelf's dimensions are pretty much perfect for the size of an album cover. But again, when it comes to storing the records or just flipping through them to figure out what I want to play next, it's a less enjoyable experience than it is trying to find a CD or trying to find a movie. And this is just when it comes to storing your vinyl records and trying to figure out what albums you want to play. But what if you're trying to move your vinyl records? What if you don't like where they're actually located? You want to move them upstairs or downstairs. You want to move them to a different location. Maybe you're moving to a new home. Again, this is just going to be a bigger burden compared to other types of physical media. Now, vinyl records come in all various sizes. They can be 12-inch, they can be 10-inch, they can be 7-inch records. And then of course, when you start having multiple records and you put them in boxes and you're trying to move them, these things are heavy, man. I mean, if you have to move multiple records, hundreds of records, thousands of records, this is an immense amount of weight compared to other things in the physical media realm that you can collect. And once you've figured out where you want your albums to go, where their final resting place is going to be, then you have to figure out exactly how you're going to store them. A CD wallet, for example, is very cheap to buy, all things considered, and a DVD or a Blu-ray can kind of fit anywhere. But between the size of an album cover and the weight of records, you are going to have something fairly substantial to be able to hold your records, especially if you have a big record collection. So once again, that's just more space that you're going to have to think about, more space that you're going to have to dedicate to your collection, and, well, just a lot more money you're going to have to invest in protecting and storing your vinyl records. And on top of that, there's also the element of protecting the actual vinyl and the actual album cover. So that means you're gonna have to invest in good inner record sleeves and good outer record sleeves, and, well, you know. All right, so number two on my list is that vinyl records and the equipment that we use to play them is pretty damn fragile. Now, we love vinyl records for various reasons. Maybe you just like the ritual of playing records. You find it to be relaxing. Maybe you like it because of the nostalgia. Maybe you love it because of the warm sound. Maybe you just simply like to interact with an actual physical good, an actual machine like a turntable. But there's nothing worse than paying a lot of money and getting ready to sit down and listen to your records and realizing that a record that you paid a good amount of money for is a little bit damaged because of scratches on the surface of the record. Now, while you can always fix a dirty record that might have dust and maybe a little bit of debris inside of the groove, you give it a really nice good cleaning and it can sound as good as new. Things that are a little bit more problematic, like say scratches or warps, these are things that you really can't fix and you're kind of just gonna have to deal with it. Now, on top of that, in the vinyl hobby, everything hinges on the condition of your stylus. If your stylus gets broken or it gets worn down over time, your record either will not play at all or will play significantly worse than you anticipated. These are things that are going to significantly hamper your vinyl record sound, and in many cases, it just might make your vinyl records sound outright bad. So when you compare vinyl records in terms of their fragility to things like digital downloads and streaming, it's really no comparison, unfortunately. A vinyl record, once it's damaged, it's kinda cooked. But if your MP3 file or your FLAC file got corrupted or just got outright lost, there's at least a chance that, depending on where you bought it, you might be able to re-download that particular song file. Now, I do think that there is actually something kind of special about being a caretaker for a vinyl record. Knowing that you might have an album that was manufactured decades ago, and the onus really falls on you to keep it in good condition. But at the end of the day, that still doesn't change the fact, and at times, the annoyance of vinyl being fragile. Alright, so coming in at number 3 on my list is price. Now, everything is expensive these days. Absurdly expensive. A few weeks ago, I actually went and bought a newspaper. Yes, I did that. And it was $4. $4 for a newspaper. What are we doing? Now, I don't know what's more shocking. The fact that the newspaper was $4 or I was the sucker who bought it. And I think that's what a lot of vinyl record fans are feeling. We love the hobby, but at the end of the day, we don't want to be suckers here. The prices for new releases are getting higher and higher. The prices for special editions or box sets are getting higher and higher. And of course, the prices for vinyl record subscription services like Vinyl Me Please are getting higher and higher. Hopefully, we will start seeing prices across the board stabilize and start coming down. But as it stands right now, prices in the vinyl record hobby is not only a small annoyance, but a really big one too. Alright, so coming in at number 4 on my list is the smell of vinyl records. Vinyl records have a distinct smell to them. It's kind of an old smell, a vintage smell, a musky smell, a dirty smell. And to make matters worse, if you buy a used record, especially if you're not buying it in person, so you're buying it online and you really don't know who you're buying it from, you might get those things in the mail, open them up, and they just smell like perfume or cologne or some other smell. Now, I think that there is probably a decent contingent of vinyl record fans that might like this about vinyl records. They might find that this is part of the charm of vinyl records, but I'm good. Alright, so coming up next on my list of the annoyances when it comes to the vinyl record hobby is everything involving maintenance. Now, I'm talking about maintenance in terms of your turntable equipment, and I'm also talking about maintenance of the vinyl records themselves. Now, as I mentioned before, vinyl records are fragile, and so that means you're really gonna have to do a good job of maintaining them. That can involve cleaning them, so maybe you're gonna actually have to put in some elbow grease and hand clean your vinyl records, or you're gonna have to invest some money in a record cleaning machine. And so that might save you some time, but you might have to sacrifice some money. And let's be honest, turntables are really amazing machines, but they are machines. They are pieces of technology, and technology does break. The turntable motor might die out. If you have a belt-driven turntable, the belt might snap off. The stylus itself might break or just kind of wear out and need to get replaced as well. And then something could happen to all of the other components that you're relying on as well. Something might happen to your phono preamp, or maybe your speakers stop working or get blown out. There's so many different points of possible failure when it comes to listening to your vinyl records, and so you just need to know that if something did happen to your turntable equipment, you're gonna need to be able to replace it pretty fast in order to keep enjoying your record collection. And that can definitely be a frustrating thing, especially if you are on a limited budget, or if the equipment that actually broke down no longer is being made. Alright, so next up on my list when it comes to the annoyances of being a vinyl record collector are the vinyl record haters. If you're somebody that proudly loves vinyl records, then you've probably run into one or two people that are vinyl record detractors. And these might be people that you have interacted with online, or maybe these are people offline in your life. Maybe these are people in your friend group. Maybe these are people at your job. Maybe these are people in your own family. These people just love to say something that has nothing to do with them to try and bring you down for something that you love. And they always have the same talking points. It's like, yeah, I get it. CDs have really great sound quality. So, I collect CDs too. These people just don't want to see you live. They don't want to see you win. They don't want to see you happy. Now, as I've always said, you should never care what other people think about your vinyl record collection or your vinyl record collecting habits, but that doesn't change the fact that having to constantly hear these people talk all the time about their dislike for vinyl records is still really annoying. Woo! Got it off my chest. Got it off my chest. All right, and the final thing on my list of annoyances when it comes to the vinyl record hobby are vinyl record flippers. Now, the definition of a vinyl record flipper is pretty simple for me. It's somebody that buys a vinyl record, usually a limited edition vinyl record, with the sole intention to flip it on the secondary market for a higher price. And the problem with this is that the people that really wanted that album, the people that were really gonna listen to that album and cherish that album, they're not gonna be able to get it at a reasonable price point. And it's possible that they had a certain budget set to be able to purchase that album at the retail price. And once it gets onto the secondary market, thanks to the flippers, they can no longer afford it. I also think that when you have limited edition vinyl records, think of ones that maybe are vinyl record store day exclusives that have an actual specific edition size. So when you couple that with flippers, you have a massive amount of FOMO, or fear of missing out, permeating through the air, and of course driving prices even higher. Now, one side of the argument might say that if you missed out on a particular album and you can't find it anywhere else, you're gonna be really happy that somebody is selling it on eBay or Discogs, even if it's at an extreme high markup price. You might feel that it's worth buying an album that otherwise would have cost $25 or $30 or $40, buying it at maybe $200 or $300 because you really want the album, and if you don't buy it here, you won't buy it anywhere. But I don't think that's the right long-term mentality, especially when it comes to the vinyl record community as a collective. Admittedly, when it comes to collecting, there's always going to be people out there that want to buy something at the retail price with the sole intention of selling it for a higher price to somebody that is really desperate. But hopefully, if you can be patient and stay calm, it can drive these flipper prices down, and maybe as time goes on, it'll start to change people's desire to want to flip vinyl records in the first place. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, put the words vinyl forever in the comments section below. And also, be sure to let me know if you have a particular annoyance when it comes to the vinyl record hobby that I forgot to add here. I would love to know what you have to say as well. If you enjoyed this video and you found it to be helpful, please hit the like button down below. I always appreciate it when you do that. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel devoted to vinyl if you want to be alerted whenever a new video drops. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video. And as always, stay devoted to vinyl.